A young couple brutally murdered while camping north of Phoenix. Nearly 20 years later, still no answers as to what happened that night underneath the stars. We've discussed this case before, the double murders of 19-year-old Lisa Gurrieri and 20-year-old Brandon Rumbaugh. This was back in October 17, 2003. So at this point, where do things stand?
We have a new detective working the case. He's been on it for a couple of years now. We have some volunteers that help him out.
Right.
We are, it's just a constant reviewing evidence, seeing what's been sent in, what the results were. Right now, we're in the phase where we are working with genealogy, trying to get some identification from some of the DNA that was at the scene so that we can generate some leads and hopefully find out who did this.
It's a case that has stuck with me. One, because of the nature of the crime, the mystery surrounding it, but two, I got to know Lisa's mother, her telling me the moments leading up to and then after the crime. And every time I spoke with her, it was just that heartbreak that you could hear through her voice. So I want to show you one piece of that interview that I did.
I don't want a memory of a gun. I want to remember my daughter. And I want her back. I want her back so badly.
Obviously, very hard to listen to.
It's heartbreaking. And, that's why we go into this job, to try and get those answers for people, hopefully prevent them. But when we can't, to get those answers. And I can't imagine what she's been going through for the last 20 years.
Yeah, Lisa's mother says that the pain never goes away. It only goes stronger each passing year. And this October will be 20 years. So she's just hoping, and I know you are too, that we could find somebody who has information that can lead to who did this and committed this crime. So let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
Lisa, from what her mother told me, she was working at SRP. Her boyfriend, Brandon, was a personal trainer. They were both living separately in Scottsdale. And it was coming up on their 1-year anniversary. They were very excited to celebrate, so they decided to go camping up north. Can you describe the area that they went out to?
So they ended up off of I-17 on Bumble Bee Road. It's pretty popular now for folks going to Crown King. Wasn't quite as popular back then, but it's a desolate part, high desert. That time of the year, it would be, crisp at night, crisp in the morning, warm during the day. And so they had gone out there to camp. They camped in the back of a pickup truck and just, wanted to get away and celebrate that 1-year anniversary of being together.
Right, underneath the stars.
Yep.
Now, the mom says that she did call Lisa on their way up and everything seemed fine. So let's take a listen to that.
I called them to check on him. And she said, I had to ask her if she was there yet. She said, no, we're not there yet, Mom. We got so many miles to go. I said, okay. I said, just be careful. And that was the last conversation I had, other than I love you, the normal.
Yeah, so nothing seemed off at this point. It wasn't up until the next morning, when Lisa's mother did not hear from her, when she started to worry. How were Lisa and Brandon found?
So some friends of Brandon's became alarmed when he didn't show up for work. They had conversations with him before Lisa and Brandon went up there, that just vaguely that they were going to go camp in some place that Brandon had camped with this group of friends before. And so they started driving up Interstate 17. I believe they went up all the way into Coconino County and drove around. They knew it was somewhere pretty close to the interstate. And so as they would get off at an off-ramp, drive around. They didn't find them, and they kept doing that until they got down to Bumble Bee Road, and then they saw the truck and then went on, found the two of them in the bed of the truck.
Yeah, I know the mom, she just, at 9 a.m. when she hadn't heard anything, just kind of tried to reach out to as many friends as possible to start searching. And I know she had also called law enforcement at that point, but it all happened so fast. She said it was like a mother's instinct. She knew something was wrong. So let's listen to that.
The day she went missing, I knew that there was something wrong. Call it a mother's instinct. I don't know what it was, but I knew that there was something wrong.
Now, when they were found, do you believe they were awake, sleeping?
It's hard to say for sure. We believe that they had probably been asleep or were getting ready to go to sleep when they were attacked. There's evidence that Lisa probably woke up at some point during the attack, but we can't say for sure, right now.
Yeah. And I know that they were shot to death, but it wasn't just one gunshot wound, it was multiple.
Correct. Yes, it was multiple gunshot wounds to both of them, so it wasn't an accident.
A lot of people in that area, they thought, maybe there could have been somebody hunting and it accidentally hit one of them. But in this case, it's different because it's not one gunshot. It was multiple to both of them.
Absolutely, yeah. We know it wasn't a hunting accident because of the number of wounds on both of them and the type of ammunition.
I know Lisa's mother said she did know two things were missing. One was a camcorder that she had let Lisa and Brandon borrow for the night. Also, Lisa's keys were missing. But what was found was a disposable camera that was there, and that provided some key evidence, right?
It did. The camera, we were able to show that it was purchased while they were on their way up there. They purchased it at a grocery store in the Scottsdale area the day that they left. We were able to recover some of the photos off of that camera. Two of them are pictures of Lisa in the bed of a truck and then Brandon in the bed of the truck. And then there's also another picture that was overexposed, we believe, when the camera was thrown, that just shows a very small corner that's not overexposed.
Yeah, and these, from what I remember, the last two photos taken, this was the camera that they had with them. This could have been, just shortly before they were murdered. When you look at these two photos, kind of describe them and what you could pull from these photos.
So it's two kids that are out, like we talked about, they're celebrating their 1-year anniversary. They want to memorialize that, and they're sitting in the bed of the pickup truck. Looks like Brandon probably took the photo of Lisa. Lisa took the photo of Brandon. There's nothing in those photos to show us that anything was amiss at that time.
And you were talking about that one other photo that happened right before that showed pretty much like a lampshade. It wasn't clear, but you think it was maybe a gas station?
The photo, all you can make out is just the top corner, maybe about 10% of the photo. And we've debated back and forth. Some people thought it looked like stucco. Some people thought it looked like a lampshade. We think it looks very similar to, if not exactly like, the pressed tin ceiling in a building in Bumble Bee. And that building in Bumble Bee is, last I was by there, is vacant. But over the years, it's been a gas station, it's been kind of a bar, a little bit of a restaurant. And we believe in 2003 that it was either, restaurant or a bar. And we think that it's likely that they were in there before they went back out to camp for the night.
Yeah, over the years, I know that there were a couple persons of interest. I know Lisa's mom said at one point she thought maybe it could have been somebody that was jealous, that wanted to date Lisa, and Brandon was her boyfriend, so it could have been a jealousy thing. But at this point now, are there still any persons of interest?
There are some persons of interest. There are a lot of people that we've interviewed, a lot of people that we've investigated. We can't say that any of them are no longer persons of interest, but it's the nature of these is that you start big and get small, and we're still in that medium phase. where a lot of people are, are still on the radar. We're just waiting for something to break, somebody to come forward and tell us something, or DNA or some other test that, may be coming down the pipe.
Yeah, they're, like you mentioned, new detective on the case, new eyes going over everything, starting from the beginning to end, reviewing all of the case file, re-interviewing maybe witnesses or friends, family members. I know in the past we talked about the family possibly getting together to talk on FaceTime or Zoom to go over, just what they remember. Why isn't it important to go back and re-interview every single person when you've already interviewed them once?
With cold cases, there's, time sometimes can work against you and sometimes time can help you. Somebody might say something, somebody who is a person of interest might say something different on an interview that leads you down a different path than you went down before. Maybe even a witness that knows something but is afraid to come forward or was afraid to come forward. They may say something that we didn't know before. Maybe they remembered, or maybe they're willing to share it now. So when you get to that point that you've run down all the leads, but you haven't solved it yet, now sometimes you have to go back to the beginning and redo a lot of that work, and hopefully, this will be fruitful.
Yeah, you were talking about DNA being retested for genealogy. Kind of talk about that. I know that there's different DNA labs out there and a lot of new equipment that can extract more DNA than ever. So what labs are you working with specifically in this case? You've already sent off DNA to be retested. How is that going?
So we work with 4 different labs, and we get results from them. The way that works is if I were to go have my DNA tested for family tree purposes, when I get that result back, I can check a box asking if I want to have that DNA put into a larger database. I believe it's called GEDmatch. And most people put their DNA in there because they're looking for a relative, maybe somebody they didn't know, maybe they were adopted, looking for siblings or looking for cousins. You hear about those stories, quite frequently. And so a lot of people check that box to go into that database. Those databases are publicly searchable by Parabon, Othram, some of the other labs that we work with. And so then the genealogist, breaks down that DNA tree and then looks in those, in that GEDmatch library and looks for consistencies. Yeah. And so they'll call us and say, hey, we have somebody that we believe to be, your suspect is a second or a third cousin to this individual. And so then the detectives have to get back to work and go out and try and figure out who that individual is. If it's somebody with a unique name, well, then it's a little easier. If it's Smith or Johnson, it's a little tougher, a little more work to do on the front end.
But it's helped in the past.
It has helped in the past. It helped. We solved the case from 1960. We identified a little girl who was abducted in Alamogordo, New Mexico, and murdered in Yavapai County. So you see these cases every day in the news.
Yeah. The double murder of Lisa and Brandon, in your eyes, do you think it's solvable? Because I know every passing year it gets harder as maybe, people forget information or maybe somebody has passed. But do you think it's solvable? I
absolutely think it's solvable. We have a phenomenal team of volunteers that work on our cold case team, and they volunteer their time. We have rocket scientists, we have teachers, we have cops, we have people from all different backgrounds, and we did that on purpose for a reason. But with them working and with the advances in science and going back and reviewing things and seeing maybe something might have been missed, and then getting that tested, getting it submitted, This is solvable. And the other thing that we hope for is maybe as time passes, somebody who knows about this, maybe talked to the person who did this, maybe was with the person who did this, that as time passes, they feel more comfortable in calling Yavapai Silent Witness and telling us what they know.
At this point, are you able to figure out if this was random or a targeted attack?
Well, we try to let the evidence tell us where to go rather than assume something and then go in that direction.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Still a mystery. So what do you need to put this case to rest?
We need those hardworking volunteers to keep doing what they're doing, but we also, it'd be great if somebody who's out there who knows something about this, even if it's something that they don't, that before they thought it wasn't that big of a deal, or they didn't understand the context, but they know somebody who would have been in that area, off of I-17 north of Black Canyon City, that was acting weird. Give us a call, call Silent Witness, and let us have the information, and we'll work that and see what we can figure out.
I know Lisa's mother is holding on to hope. She said, it doesn't matter whether the person is alive or dead. She just wants to know what happened to her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend. So I want to play this last little bit.
So it was hard. I lost my daughter and I lost my best friend at the same time.
Thank you very much, Captain Boelts. I know you're going to continue doing hard work with other detectives and investigators on this to find out the truth and hopefully put this to rest.
Absolutely.